G'day everybody, how you going today? It is so good to see you. Yes, some very late breaking news arriving at our friends on Nikon Rumours. 2 new lenses set to arrive in the next couple of months. 2 lenses that so many people are waiting for. The first one rumoured to be coming in the next couple of months is the 85mm 1.2, which is a lens personally that I am super excited about, and that will absolutely be on my birthday list, and my birthday will happen to land as soon as this lens lands. The other lens rumoured to arrive, as we've talked about with the Z9, the 400mm 2.8. And check this out, the rumour is that it's set to have a 1.4 times teleconverter built in. So let's just say those 2 things again. In the next couple of months, so I read this as before the end of the year, we're going to have the 85mm 1.2. Oh my God, I'm so excited! And the 400mm 2.8 with a 1.4 times teleconverter built in. I know there's going to be some wildlife people out there that are super excited. Well, here is the lens roadmap, fairly recent version of what it looks like. We now have a couple of these lenses are now out, of course, which is the Micro 105, which we can see here, as well as the 50mm, and we have a version of the 28, although I don't think the version of the 28 is the one that we have, is the one that's going to be here. So the recent rumour, the S-Line 85mm, and as we can see, it's a little bit shorter than the macro lens, the 105, and a little bit shorter again than the amazing 50mm 1.2. What is that? What is the difference there? I would say that's a difference of about 20%, something like that. 15-20% smaller, but it may well be wider in the girth. It's a wide lens. Of course, an 85, and we believe it's a 1.2 because we don't know that yet, but the 85 1.2 is a massive lens. I think this is a super important lens. I think it's a lens that many pros, semi-pros, and enthusiasts will love as a portrait lens and for other uses as well. If the 50mm 1.2 is anything to go by, this lens is going to be an absolute cracker. So I'm very excited about the rumoured announcement that this will be coming sometime before the end of the year. This is an essential part of my kit, and I can't wait to get it in there. But it's going to be a big lens. So although it does seem pretty similar in size, actually, to the 14 to 24 in length. So we can see from here to here, let's call it 140 pixels, and this one from here to here is 120 pixels. What is that? Again, it's about a 15% wider. It's going to be a chunky, but not necessarily long lens. I can't wait for this lens. Super excited. It'll work well on all of the bodies. And of course, if it's coming around the same time as the Z9, it'll be a killer pro portrait lens, photojournalistic lens, and it'll work like crazy. Now let's jump over to the next rumoured lens. Don't these things look like rockets? It looks like something from SpaceX. And the next rumoured one is this lens right here. This is the 400mm rumoured 2.8 with a 1.4 times teleconverter built in. How exciting is that? Now, the reason that we think it's a 2.8 and the 600 is probably going to be an f4 is, as we can see, they're almost the same size, the same length. But it's a massive lens. Like if we look at the 70 to 200, this thing is literally twice the length. This is about 20 centimeters long, which are part of the 200mm, of course. And, well, this will be 40 centimeters long, 400mm long, so absolutely massive. And lots of people, of course, are hanging for the 100 to 400 over here and the 200 to 600 over here. We understand that, and gosh, you know, I agree. Like personally, neither of these lenses are lenses that I use that often, but I understand that other people are very excited about them. So amazingly here, with the built-in teleconverter 1.4, which gets you to 560 mils, and then if you crop to DX and you're around 20 megapixels, that gets you to 840 mils when using, say, a Z7 II or a Z9. Based on rumours. This is a pretty versatile lens, 400 to 840 mils. It's not exactly a zoom lens, but it's giving you quite a lot of options. It makes sense to me that we're getting this 400 prime, which sits in the middle of all of this group of telephoto zooms and primes. And as I'm trying to argue here, this is a little bit of a kind of a a three-step zoom, isn't it? Now, of course, we want to see the 100 to 400 and the 200 to 600. So many people are super excited about them. Let's hope they're coming very soon. And I think that the only other lens on this list right now that people are aching for is the 24 to 105. Let's hope we see that soon. I think probably at this stage we're talking next year. Let's jump into the rest of the lens news. Well, let's have a little bit of a chat about Viltrox, and the fact is that this month there's a whole lot of activity going on Z-mount wise. Now, to the best of my understanding, these lenses are pre-existing. You can already see reviews on them because Viltrox have made them in E-mounts and maybe Leica mounts and a few other Fuji mounts as well, even, I think, for some of these lenses. Not the full-frame ones, but the APS-C ones, which we're going to talk about shortly. So these are tried and tested. Viltrox has had them out for a while and they've just adapted them to fit onto the Z mount. Now here is my 85mm Viltrox lens that I've had now for about 3/4 of a year. Check out the review that I did up here. In the end, I decided that this was a fabulous lens. It has a lot in common with the Nikon 85 1.8. But there are some differences when it comes to chromatic aberration and sharpness. The Nikon lens is sharper and does handle chromatic aberration very well. And the only other major difference that really was concerning me was weather sealing. I have had some reports from people who have purchased these lenses that they're not necessarily as tough. Now, when I say tough, they've just had issues with them bricking on them. And if you don't know what that means, it just means not working and being as useful as a brick. Now, look, I've used this lens a fair bit. I've had no problems with it, but I can't vouch for everybody's experience. Now, that's why warranties exist, isn't it? Because basically, somewhere between 5 and 10% of all things that are slightly more complicated than, let's say, a potato, they can fail. And that's why a warranty that lasts for 1, 2, and some cases 5 years allows you to take the product back because it is not meeting its manufacturing standards. Thus, taking all of that into account, the differences between them were not major, they were minor, depending on use case. But this lens is half the price. So you got to decide, do you want the original electronic manufacturer's product, which will push the envelope as hard and as far as possible, because they designed and built the mount and understand it the best, or do you want the optics that are created for a general purpose across different cameras, across different manufacturers? That's your call, and it's half the price. We've now got in the full frame space coming from Viltrox, we've got the 24, the 35, and the 50 1.8s. This is the 24. Now, I have asked to try out the 35mm because, of course, I have a 35mm and the 50mm. They're not here yet. This is the first one to arrive so far. I don't have a 24mm Z lens, but what I am going to do when we get out into the field is I'll put it up against this one here. And this, of course, is the 28, the new 28 special edition. Here it is looking great, sitting on a Z6 II. How good does that look? Now, that's the first time that I've mounted this lens on one of the full frame Zs. But they're pretty close. So 28 versus 24, we'll have a little bit of a look. These are both very affordable lenses, but they're quite different in size, as we can see. So what is that going to mean? And of course, one's a 1.8 and one is a 2.8. So another exciting thing is that Viltrox is making some APS-C lenses for the Z mount. And again, we believe that these are optical formulas that already exist for Fuji and other mounts as well. So these are not brand new optical designs, but they're brand new for the Z mount. These are coming soon, and of course, in this image, we can see it on the ZFC Black Edition. These are the first third-party autofocus APS-C lenses for the Z mount, and that's super exciting because people keep talking about, well, when are the third-party lenses coming? Jump on Nikon Rumours, you can see they look pretty good on the Z mount with the ZFC. Now, the sizes we have here are a 23mm, a 33mm, and a 56mm, but these aren't 1.8s, they're 1.4s. Of course, the 23 gets you about a 35, and the 33 gets you about a 50, and the 56 is sort of like an 85. So that's a really good collection of primes that you will have for your cropped sensor Z mount camera, and you don't have to buy Nikons. Well, they don't have any. Exciting stuff. So I will give you more on the 24mm as soon as I can. I'll do a test of these together. Hopefully we are out next week. Please cross your fingers for me. Why is this screen on? Well, let me tell you. Basically, we edit these videos using a 2017 iMac and a 2015, I think it is, iMac. And basically, it's getting harder and harder as we add more effects and more bits and pieces on top to keep the workflow moving quickly. Now, the M1 Max have been out almost a year, and I've held off wanting to wait for the Pro Max. But every now and again, I've jumped in and looked at I've researched, you know, what a sort of speed bump can I expect from, say, a 2015 or a 2017 iMac like I have here behind me, which happens to be an Intel i7 4-core 3.7 or 3.9. Even it might even be like a 4.0 gigahertz thing. Got 64 gig of RAM, and lo and behold, I decided to get an M1 so we could just keep things moving at a reasonable pace. And I cannot believe it. I've done the last video that I did, which is the one about the Z9 updated specs. It's about a 17-minute video shot in 4K, multiple effects and things going on. On my machine, takes just over 20 minutes, around 20 minutes to render. On the M1 iMac, which only has, I got the entry-level one, only has 8 gig of RAM. It's around $1,000 Australian versus 3 to 4 for the one behind me. And it did it in 8 minutes, I think it was, 8 minutes, 8.5 minutes, versus, like I said, 20 minutes. So it's 2.5 times faster and ridiculously cheaper. Now, of course, you have to add a screen and a keyboard, but screens and keyboards only cost $200 or $300 depending on what you get. So I know a lot of people out there are not Apple users, and that's fine. I'm not interested in camera wars. I'm also not interested in computer wars, but I am interested in sharing with anyone who is an Apple user or who has maybe got a computer that, whether it's Apple or whatever, that they might be wanting to upgrade. Right now, these machines are crazy fast. Now, I also know that Capture One has been upgraded for the M1 chip, as has the Adobe suite of products. I haven't tested them yet, but I believe they're much faster. And I did read an email from Capture One where they just said, hold on to your hubcaps. The M1 is going to make your experience in Capture One much faster. So I can't wait. I think there are rumors that there's going to be an M1X Mac Mini, a kind of pro version of that coming out before the end of this year. I may well go in that direction simply because they're saying the M1X iMacs are still 6 months away. And if that tiny little machine that cost $1,000 is 2.5 times faster at rendering, that's real time. And sometimes we render these things 3 or 4 times. Multiply that by 3, that 12 minutes by 3, and you've got 36 minutes of lost productivity while your machine's rendering. Although you can do other things, but sometimes you're just in a hurry and you want to get things out. Anyway, I just wanted to share with you real-world experience about the M1 iMac. I'm impressed, and I've been buying Apples since the start, and gosh, that's a super affordable Apple Mac. Okay, everybody, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below about the 85mm 1.2 or the 400mm 2.8 Z lenses. What do you think about the new Viltrox lenses? The fact that we've got, what is it, 4 or 5, maybe 6 new lenses coming for the Z mount, and both full frame and APS-C. Oh, it's all good. I'm so excited. If this is your first time here, golly gosh, I'd love to see you again, so please do subscribe. Please share and please like this video, it helps so much. Don't forget we now have channel membership, which really supports the channel and helps us stay independent. Alright, I'll see you soon. More coming, lots of exciting stuff happening in the camera world. And hopefully we're out of lockdown soon. Sayonara.